TV. You'll see I'm not alone today in the studio, and as I say, it always brings me joy to have somebody join us today. And joining us today is Izzy Karns. She was crowned the 2026 Miss Teen Volunteer America. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Technically, though, you are still our Miss Teen Volunteer Mississippi for a little while, or do we pass that down to the next person? How does that work?
I have about 3 months left of being Miss Mississippi Teen Volunteer, but it just got a little bit sweeter about a month ago when I was crowned Miss Teen Volunteer America. But I'm super excited for our state pageant happening July 1st through 5th in Tupelo. That's always a good time, and I can't wait to go back, but kind of from a different perspective this year.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's obviously the next step is always what girls who get the crown is looking for, and you were able to accomplish that goal on a national level. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
But let's go back to just your interest in the Miss Mississippi Volunteer organization. So tell us a little bit about it, because it is a different pageant organization than like the Miss Mississippi organization. Both great things, but just two different ones. So kind of tell us a little bit behind the volunteer.
Yeah, so Miss Mississippi Volunteer is relatively new. It started about 5 years ago, and it's a scholarship program. Through my 2 years competing at state and 1 year at the national pageant, I have gained $16,000 worth of scholarships, which is really nice. I'm a freshman at USM, so I'm using that. Yes, to the top. I'm using that right now, and it's super nice to not have that burden on my shoulders of having to pay for college. But it's all about volunteerism, as you can probably guess by our name. Our motto is SERVE, which stands for scholarships, education, responsibility, volunteerism, and empowerment, and it's all about creating a well-rounded woman who gives back to her community.
Which I think that's one thing I always try to drive home with all the women who get, or young ladies who get into these pageants, is they do so much good for the community, whether they win the crown or not, which I think is such a good thing. It's sort of instilled, like, how do you give back? How do you serve? And it's obviously in the name with Miss Mississippi Volunteer. How did you get, so you're still young, Izzy, you're 18, so you're the teen. There's obviously the Miss Mississippi Volunteer, which would be the next step, I would assume, for you. So where did you get the idea to sort of go this route, or who encouraged you, should I say, to give Miss Mississippi Teen Volunteer a try?
Yeah, so I got involved in pageantry about 4 years ago, and I grew up volunteering with my mom and my Nana. We were always at the animal shelter, which kind of relates to my SERVE initiative, which is Choose Rescue, and that's just something that I'm super passionate about. But I really wanted to get involved in pageantry so that I would have a little bit more of a platform to speak about those things that I'm passionate about. And whenever I heard about the Miss Mississippi Volunteer Program, I decided to take that kind of leap of faith and get involved. And the very first year that I competed, I immediately realized it was such a family atmosphere, and everybody who is a part of the board and putting on the pageant is so kind. They're so uplifting, and I truly could never go anywhere else after that because I just fell in love and I was hooked. So I just kept coming back, and eventually I won.
How many years did you do teen
volunteer? 2 years.
Okay,
so
2 years.
My very first year, I was first runner-up. But they also have another program called Miss Spirit of Mississippi, and that's a program that they basically use to earn scholarship dollars for the Miss and Teen who win their pageants, and it allows you to compete and win a state title, but then you're eligible to go and compete at other state pageants. And that is the one that I competed in first. And then whenever I competed in that one, I realized, okay, maybe I should come back and try teen. And I did, took that leap of faith, and that's the best decision I ever made, truly.
So if parents or grandparents are listening who have the young women who may fall into that, what's the age range for teen?
So teen is 13 to 18, and the really great thing about it is that you can get involved and just compete over and over and over again. You get to have your local title and represent your community, your city, your county, and that's what I really loved about it, is getting to meet all of the people through my experience preparing for the state pageant. And I think that it really has changed my life. It's allowed me to grow in confidence, public speaking skills, and then once you get to the state pageant, you get to hang out with all your friends who are also local title holders.
So you go through a local title holder sort of position first pageant, and then that sets the stage for the state. Is that correct?
So actually, whenever you are competing as a local title holder, you get to just request your title. So anybody can do it, which is super nice. You don't have to win a preliminary pageant, and instead you just sign up.
Claim it.
You sign up, you take that leap of faith, and you go for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. and then you go into the next round. It is nice that they take that sort of part out of it so people can be more acceptable to people. This always happens in Tupelo, right, Izzy?
Yes, it does.
Does the Miss Mississippi Teen and the Miss Mississippi Volunteer all happen in the same weekend, or are those two different events?
Yes, it all happens in the same weekend, July 1st through 5th.
Oh, that's going to be a busy weekend.
Up. Well, it's 2 nights of preliminaries and then the final night, which is always the most nerve-wracking and exciting day.
So I want to talk about the volunteer or the service project, or how do y'all call it? What's your service project or your volunteer project?
Yes, so we call it a serve initiative. My serve initiative is called Choose Rescue, and it's where I advocate for shelter pets and shelter pet adoption. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, that's something that I've been involved with since the time I was very young, volunteering with my mom and my Nana at some local shelters. And I found a dog one day that I absolutely fell in love with, as any little girl would. And I told my mom we weren't leaving without her.
What kind of dog was it?
She was just a little mutt.
What was her name?
Her name was Lola, and so she came home with me that day, and ever since then she just gave me a sense of joy. And that was a very difficult time in my life. Actually, I was going through some hard things, but she gave me a sense of comfort and peace. And I try to tell people that that's a sense of love and joy that nobody can take away from you, and that's why you should get involved with animal shelters and give back and adopt from an animal shelter. So,
what are ways to volunteer with animal shelters?
Reach out. Give them a phone call, message them on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. They're always willing to have volunteers come in, and, you know, they love donations, but if you don't have any money to give, you can always come and give your time, and that makes the biggest difference. Truly, the community makes the animal shelters go around and allows them to give back to the animals who are in between homes or who are been neglected or abused or just need somebody to support them to go forward. So it's really important that the community gives back to keep those animals safe.
I know, too, during, natural disasters, Izzy, we got word that many animal shelters would get an influx of animals who either got left behind or got displaced from their families, and how important that is, and, things like blankets and food, these things you just don't think about during those times, or ways that sort of people can connect. Yeah. We've had a rescue, so it's in my blood, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's so many things that you don't think about, even old towels, if you're about to get rid of them, just go drop those off at the animal shelter. Those are always things that they need, cleaning products, and it's really important to just think about those small things that you wouldn't think of off the top of your head to give back to them.
What are other important reasons why people should volunteer or just get involved in their communities? I mean, obviously, you do it on the level with the animal shelter, but as Miss Mississippi's teen volunteer, or I got it wrong, but you know what I mean, wearing the crown for volunteer, how important is it for volunteering in our state?
It's so important. It's definitely changed my life. I think a lot of people have the idea that volunteering will change other people's lives, and while that is so true, it also changes your life. It gives you a sense of fulfillment, and for me personally, it's shown me my passions, and it's taught me what I want to do going forward in my life and continuing to serve people. We actually have a national partnership with the Salvation Army and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, so I get to be the national brand ambassador for both of those wonderful organizations this year, and seeing all the ways that these people just wholeheartedly love and care for others has created me to be a well-rounded person, and going forward, I get to share that with others and hopefully get them involved as well so that they can see the ways that it can change their life too.
You shouldn't do it just because it does good for you, but you are correct, Izzy.
Yes,
it's better to give than receive.
It truly does change your life. I can't even emphasize that enough.
And it's simple things, too, like you're just volunteering your time, your talents, all of the things.
Yeah.
It looks different for everyone, and I'm sure it looks different for every contestant what their service initiative is. And that's coming up. Obviously, the next crown will be coming up this July, but you had the opportunity to go on to the next step because you had the Miss Teen Volunteer Mississippi. You got to go on to Miss Teen Volunteer America. So when did you, or where was that? Where was that pageant?
That was in Jackson, Tennessee, and I was actually crowned 1 month ago today. So thank you. It's my 1 month crown anniversary. I keep telling people I still don't think that we'll ever settle in, and so I have to give up the title.
No, what you got? What, like 11 more months to do
months.
that? But we're going to take a break and hear more about that reign coming up next.
Okie doke.
We're also streaming from that SuperTalk Mississippi app, and we're always on your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station, as well as you can watch us. We are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. We are continuing our conversation with Miss Izzy Karns. She was crowned the 2026 Miss Teen Volunteer America. She's from Ellisville, Mississippi, and she goes to the best university in the state. Haha, I can say that because I'm also a graduate, the University of Southern Miss. Don't throw shade at me. Y'all know that I'm a graduate from Southern Miss. But so what are you doing in school now? I know you've used a lot of your winnings, your scholarship funds from the pageant to further your education. So what are you studying there at Southern Miss?
So I keep changing my major and my minor.
Me too,
I'm
girl.
very indecisive, but currently I am majoring in liberal studies with a minor in business administration. So lots of social media, lots of marketing, lots of business talk, but that's all up my alley. I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur at heart.
Good. You're going to a good school for that, for sure. Okay, I want to go back to your opportunity. So in July of 2024, you were crowned the state's fourth ever Miss Mississippi Teen Volunteer there in Tupelo.
Yes.
So you went on to the America Talent, the national level. So tell us a little bit about that. How was that?
That was the most fun ever. That's one of those things that you dream of forever but don't actually think you'll ever get to. But I went on to compete at the national pageant. It was just earlier in the month of March, and I was crowned on March 8th, and it was just such an incredible week. We all got to hang out together with 50 other of the state delegates, and being in that kind of environment and surrounded by like-minded individuals and just such incredible women who are doing so much in their states is awesome, because I think iron sharpens iron, so we all learned a little bit about each other and got to grow so much as people during that week. And truly, I could have walked away as last place and I still would have gained so much because I was surrounded by them and we were just so uplifted by the entire staff that entire week.
So how does that, I mean, obviously you all go, and it's obviously a pageant, kind of the same competition. So other than with your service initiative, how are you guys judged? What are some of the elements to the pageant that may be a little bit different than you see in other pageants, or maybe similar?
Yeah, so there's 4 areas of competition. They're all 25% of your overall score. We're scored on talent, evening gown, fitness and wellness, and then a private interview with a panel of judges. And that whole process is a lot of fun. They split it up into 2 preliminary nights of competition and then 1 finals night. So on final night, it's lots of anticipation, lots of nerves. They're cutting down from 16 to 12 to 10 to 5 to 1. Yeah. And so going through all of that, it's lots of nerves, but just so incredible to kind of see your hard work come to fruition.
So what was your talent, Izzy?
I sing. I did Disney's Princess and the Frog, Almost There, and that song means a lot to me. I actually used to sing it around my living room as a little girl, and so actually getting to perform it on the Miss Teen Volunteer America stage was so full circle, so exciting, and I really resonate with a lot of the lyrics too.
Did you wear a green dress?
I did not wear a green dress. It was more like a teal jumpsuit. I was trying to make it a bit of my own. But it was really cool. I got to design all of my outfits for nationals with Lasting Impressions, and they are a retailer of Sherry Hill Couture. So I felt amazing the entire week. That's truly a dream come true. I never imagined.
I think everyone listening who has their own little princesses at home, I went through 2. I have a 12-year-old and now a 5-year-old. We all know that song.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so how do you go from preparing for, like, is it different how you prepare for the state competition versus how you prepare for the national one?
It's a lot about bettering yourself. So leading up to the state pageant, it was my second time competing. The year prior, I was first runner-up. So going into that, I really just had to have like an overwhelming sense of peace with whatever God's plan for my life is going to be. He has it all written, and I just have to go through the steps of it and trust in the process, and that's exactly what I did. And I feel like that just allowed me to kind of live in the moment that week as well. But there was lots of preparation leading up to it, 3 years of hard work working with a walking coach. A lot of people probably don't realize we're practicing walking like every single day, something that we do on a daily basis we're getting in a studio and actually practicing it. And then, working on my talent with vocal coaches, and then doing lots of interview prep and just putting myself in those situations where I'm able to talk and able to kind of practice that and become the best version of myself leading up to the state pageant. And then I won, and you get all of these incredible sponsors that help you prepare for the national pageant. And so I was being poured into by so many incredible and talented individuals, and then also the Mississippi Volunteer Board, who I cannot say enough good about. They're truly the most genuine, kind, and uplifting people. I really couldn't have done it without them. So that whole process, same thing, just trying to trust in God's plan and know that whatever was meant for me wasn't going to pass me by.
At what point, Izzy, I mean, for anybody who's made it to that point, I would say just hearing your name once, you feel like you made it to that next level in terms of at the national level. At what point were you like, oh my gosh, it could be me?
I think it really didn't soak in until I was standing in the final two, because it cut to the 16 and I was fine. And then whenever it cut to the 12, I was fine. The 10, I was the very last person called. And so I was just kind of, okay, whatever it is, God, I trust you. And then I was called very last into the 10. But whenever we were all standing in the 5, I was like, this isn't real. Got to the top 2, and me and North Carolina were the last 2 standing, and she's one of my very good friends, Hayden. She's so sweet, and the entire night she was saying, I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I got here. And I was like, Hayden, you did this. You're incredible. You made it. And then standing with us too, it was International Women's Day. I was like, this is the best feeling ever on International Women's Day. I just felt so empowered. And I was telling her that she would make an incredible Miss Teen Volunteer America, and she was saying the same to me. But in that moment, I just knew that whatever God had for me was going to happen, and it was such a surreal feeling, truly.
So you're a month into it.
Yes.
So how is that title different than the state? Obviously, I recognize it's a national title in terms of your responsibilities. So over the next, 11 months, what will you be doing? Is it across the nation, or is it still more here in Mississippi? How will you be working that title, girl?
So we actually have national partnerships with the Salvation Army and St. Jude, as I mentioned earlier. So this entire year, I get to be the national brand ambassador for both of those organizations. So doing a lot of volunteer work with them, filming public service announcements at the national headquarters for the Salvation Army coming up. That will be really exciting. Working with St. Jude as a St. Jude Leadership Society member, and really mentoring those state and local title holders to help them reach their fundraising goals to further the mission of St. Jude, to not let anybody have a bill while they're focusing on their child receiving treatment at their facilities. So I really love both of the missions of those organizations, and I'll be traveling to do events with them. But also getting to go to all of the state pageants. That's going to be really fun.
I didn't think about that.
Yes, that season will start at the end of June. So I'll be all over the nation whenever that starts happening. But I'm super excited. I'll get to reunite with some of my friends that I made at the national pageant. So that'll be a lot of fun, and kind of being on the other side of things, I guess.
How do you juggle it all at 18, Izzy?
It's about keeping organized. I have a very detailed planner that I write down every single thing on. And if I don't, I will forget something. So staying organized and making sure that I leave time for myself as well. I always say you can't pour from an empty cup. So I make sure to take that time for myself, spend time with my friends and family, and do some things that I like to do to recharge.
But what's that? What do you enjoy doing?
Well, I was about to say I really enjoy traveling, and that's a lot of fun for me. Actually, last summer, me and my family went on a 28-hour road trip, all packed in the car together. There were no fights, surprisingly, but we went all the way to Maine, and it's those kind of things, spending time with my family and my friends and playing board games and all the things that really make me happy. So it's also a lot of that on the job too, getting to travel, and that's always fun.
So you mentioned that the trying for the Miss Mississippi Teen Volunteer was one of your best decisions. If there was a young lady listening that was on the fence, kind of nervous, what do you say about someone stepping out and trying the pageant, the local pageant?
I would say that all good things lie on the other side of fear. I used to be that girl who was terrified to compete for Miss Mississippi Teen Volunteer because it has a talent portion, and I thought that there was no way that I would get on the stage and sing or or
Amen,
perform
same.
any sort of talent. And I let that fear hold me back for the longest time. And then I felt kind of a bit of a tugging at my heart to just take that chance and to take that leap of faith. And so I did. And here I am now, the girl who used to say I had no talent, and I won the national pageant with a talent. So just go for it. Don't let those things hold you back. It's one of those things that you need to try at least once in your life, because you don't realize how much it can change who you are and how much it can pour into your life and make a big impact on the things that you're doing.
Well, girl, we wish you the best. Soak up every moment. The year is going to go by so fast, Miss Izzy.
Thank you so much.
But anytime you're back around here, you're always welcome in to stop in and say hi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, you guys stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.